if you have 1 day a week in office, you might as well have 5. When you're remote, I can hire people anywhere. I have people all over the world doing jobs for Ridge.
There's this whole thing that like, if you take care of your people, that people take care of the brand, right? And I do think that your culture, like how you think about your company and how people think about it, actually impacts what the brand is.
The way you sell as much as possible is by really narrowing in and saying, I'm going to really speak to this small subset of people. And this is why brand building is in many ways as much about saying what you're not as what you are.
I think most great brands have division in their fan base, right? Like you can look at Apple is ubiquitous. So it's like, yeah, grab any 5 people who have an iPhone and they'll have nothing in common with each other.
If you can't put all of your employees in the same place and not have them fight, do you have a brand?
My personal lived experience says that's not true. So
all right, welcome to the Operators Podcast. We've got a great episode for you today. It is brought to you, as always, by our great sponsors, Fulfill, Northbeam, Postscript, Rich Panel, and Ceres. Let's get after it.
Jason, you know what's incredibly powerful? When your 3PL and your ERP are connected and talk together beautifully. When they make music together, when all of your orders pass back and forth. Have you experienced that?
That's what we do with Fulfill. And I got to tell you, life before that was a mess. You know, living in spreadsheets, dealing with 3PLs, not being connected. We're a massive organization now, and we literally couldn't live without this. We've got 4 or 5 different nodes for fulfillment, and everything talks to each other through Fulfill. It's incredible. This is a problem I was trying to solve from the day I got to HexClad, and we've implemented Fulfill, a couple years ago now. And it's kind of like a financial analyst with Excel. Good luck trying to take that away from them. Like, you could not take Fulfill away from my operations team and my accounting team anymore. That's how integrated it is into our systems. We couldn't live without it.
Yeah, and what you tried to replace was middleware, right? So typically, if you don't have something like Fulfill, you have Shopify and you have a 3PL. Your 3PL is old, outdated software, and you'd have middle software trying to connect everything, and that software would break. It's manual, it's whatever. Fulfill is this like amazing data pipeline that is rock solid, directly taking all of your orders and routing them so you don't have to. It's how we can run whatever. You said you have 4 nodes in the US. We have personalization. We have warehouses in Canada that ship to America. We have warehouses in Mexico and Kentucky, and we have all of our international warehouses. And I don't have to think about it at all. Inventory's up. Customers get the best shipment for them. That saves us the most amount of money. No split shipments, no worry, no hassle. Fulfill has done that for us, and I love it as a piece of software. If you are at Beanstalk in New York, they will be there, and they have free Groons. Show up to them, get your gummies. They're all about Groons. Chad is a loyal operator listener, and he's a Fulfill customer, and Fulfill is a Groons customer. So show up at Beanstalk. They'll have a little gift for you. I love the software. Jason loves the software. Jason, anything else to add?
I want some Groons, man. I should show up for this thing.
You better be at Beanstalk. We're all going to be there, dude. All right. Talk to you later.
Mike, what is the deal with your background, with et cetera, et cetera? What is that?
I've got a little I got a little program where on the frame where I can just pick different photos. Let's pick the photo for today. What do we want to? What kind of ambiance do we want to set? I should communicate. So this is actually a funny story. One of the guys on my team, he was the chief of staff for a very powerful person. I won't name the person. And this person's moods would vary fairly wildly depending on the day. And so when you were walking into the office for a meeting, and if this person was in a bad mood, you wanted to know it, right? You wanted to know that, like, okay, this is kind of dangerous. And so they had a little figurine on his desk. And it was the job of the person in the room, like if they were in a bad mood, if the powerful person was in a bad mood, to turn the figurine at 90 degrees. And it was like a sign for anybody who came in the room of like, hey, this is a bad day. He's on one. And so I need the equivalent with my background. I need to just pick a background where you guys will know what you're getting that day. But today is my 31st birthday. And so I should have a happy one. It's probably not my 31st birthday, but it's my birthday.
Today's your birthday, dude? He's recording on his birthday. That's crazy. All right, but Mike, you're You're the second oldest here on the pod.
No, I don't know, man. I think, Mike, what year were you born?
79.
Oh, yeah, you are then.
Yeah.
Never mind.
And listen, I love the fact that you thought you might be older than me, though, Matt.
I got a lot of gray in my face, so I just sort of always assume that the gray is a signal that I'm just old.
You know, I love the fact that Mike is Gen X. I'm born in 71. Mike, I knew we had a special bond, and I actually knew that you had this level of wisdom. And now it's like, Sean's going to call us boomers. We're not. We're Gen X.
This is a real recognizes real situation.
Actually, Gen X is actually an awesome generation.
Well, you know what's interesting is like supposedly there's like this 2-year in between with Gen X and millennial that is like some kind of a transitionary and they're like it's not quite Gen X, but it's definitely not millennial. And I think I technically fall in that, which I get that. Like I'm not like as averse to technology and stuff as a lot of Gen X and before, but I am definitely not a millennial.
I didn't realize 1871 was Gen X. So that's awesome, Jason.
We've been doing this. I've been doing this for 120 years, Sean.
Feels like it sometimes.
It does feel that way. It's like dog years, man. Like I don't know if we've talked about this on the pod. I say this all the time, but it's like every year in entrepreneurship and running a company is like 7. It's like I'm only 15 years in of doing entrepreneurship full time. And it might as well be 60.
I mean, Jason's only 16 years old, and look at him.
There we go.
Well, he's in LA and he's got that Hexclad money. It's a Benjamin Button situation. You have enough money and you're on the West Coast. You age down.
Dude, no joke. I mean, there's a couple guys we know. Danny's one of them. Danny told me how old he is. Blew my mind. He looks like he could be my brother, dude. It's amazing how good a shape these people are in.
It's LA, baby. But then there's the LA D2C tennis club run by Sean Frank and Jeremy Thurswell that we're getting pictures of every once in a while. How's the tennis team going?
Dude, I mean, I played last night. Jeremy has me on the court 3-4 days a week.
Dude, did you know that playing tennis is associated with lower all-cause mortality than any other exercise?
Right. I think it just has to do with money because,
Yeah, it's probably there's probably some kind of correlation causation.
Golf is probably up there too.
So is caviar eating, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we have a real agenda today, but we were just debating intensely. What I said was, if you have 1 day a week in office, you might as well have 5. Because as soon as you have 1 day a week in office, you're not remote and you lose all the benefits of remote. When you're remote, I can hire people anywhere. So I have people in Virginia to the UK to parts of Canada to Latin America. I have people all over the world doing jobs for Ridge. But if I made them come to LA 1 day a week, it wouldn't happen, right? You lose all of the benefits. That's my stance. Mike jumped in and said,
I'm coming in hot. He's totally wrong on this one. My personal lived experience says that's not true. So we started actually fully remote. I think I mentioned this in another episode because we all still had jobs. In the first year of the company, we were basically all fully remote. And then we eventually were making enough money that we could hire Brian and Micah. And then eventually I came on. But we didn't even have an office. So early on, we met in the upstairs room of my house, or we met at Panera Bread when we met because we didn't have a place. And we finally got an office. We got something that was 1,000 square feet. And this is when the team was probably about 10 people. And we hadn't really had an office. So we didn't think we needed to get a big office space, and we didn't know how big the team would get. So pretty quickly, it was like, this 1,000 square feet is not going to work. We can't all be in here every day. And we went from we'll do 1 day a week. And then we went from 1 to 2. And then we went from 2 to 3. And that's pretty much where we were up until COVID and about a 30-person team. And then COVID happened. We went fully remote. And basically the way that I exited COVID was, man, we had it exactly right with hybrid. That hybrid is the future. And I'm not actually like in the minority here. I think this is like most people think some form of hybrid is the future. I'll tell you the advantages. I mean, because I get what you're saying, Sean, but I'll give you some advantages of hybrid. One advantage is that when you're employing people that have young kids, the flexibility really matters. So if you can say to them, you're going to have more flex on Monday and Friday, and more freedom of movement, but I have to have you in person 3 days a week. That's a pretty big value add. And fully remote obviously can offer that, but the thing fully remote can't offer is any of the in-person dynamics. The other thing we've learned is we have some people, we have a guy that his wife is at Harvard right now, a guy who's on the West Coast, where his wife's doing some education there. And one of our main technology guys in Tennessee, that they can come in, like asking somebody to come in for 2 or 3 days in the middle of the week is actually not like an outrageous ask, so that they can come in and participate in the in-person, even though they work remote, because it is only 3 days of the week and it's in the middle of the week. Like families don't revolt at that idea. So what we end up doing is getting all the benefits of in-person, because really in 3 days, you should be able to do all your meetings. If you can't, what are you doing? And then all the flexibility of remote on Monday and Friday, and people generally love it. It also, like, I think helps with accountability. I mean, the fully remote stuff, obviously, like, it's just like accountability. Are people really working at the level that they could be? All that good stuff. The final point I'd make is just, I'm just convinced that there are discussions and decisions that get made that wouldn't happen if we weren't in person, because they just kind of bubble up organically. And we never found a way to replicate that when we were fully remote. So we've done all of it. We've done fully remote, we've done hybrid, we've done in person a lot of the time. And we've come up with, if you do the middle 3 days in office, you get the best of both worlds.
Can I ask here's my question. And I asked this to my HR person yesterday. So Mike, I started this earlier with Sean and Jason, because this is actually, I just wanted to, I wanted to be an intelligent conversation. So, what I asked to my HR team is like, would the flexibility, I'm using like air quotes if you're not seeing me, would it matter if I said that you have to be in office Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? So like if I took away the bookends of a long weekend, like basically what I'm like, and what I was getting at was, I don't know that people are more productive at home. And Mike, your situation might be different, because like I look at my staff, and most of my team lives in like apartments and has roommates, and they don't have dedicated workspaces at home. My argument is, yeah, for some of my team, like they have great home office setups and they have young kids and they can make it work. But like, I also live in a place, guys, where there is no commute greater than 20 minutes. I live the furthest from my office is 20 minutes. So the idea that like you're spending all this time in the car, or you're commuting and like you're losing your day and you need that time back and you can be more, that's also bull. So I'm just like, and kind of where this started for me, Mike, was like, should I go back to 5 days a week in office? And that was Sean saying, yes, you should. Like, you have people who can be in office, they should be in office. The challenge, I guess there's a bunch of challenges, but like I also have half of my team is remote, right? Like we do hire all over the place, especially for certain roles. I can't get them locally.
Yeah, you gotta do invasive surgery to make that kind of a change. It's a one-way door.
We're 4 days a week in the office. We have a bunch of remote people too. You just got to say it and get it done. And it for the most part, it works fine. Also, I think there's a difference between senior people who are like managing and just operating at a different level versus like individual contributors and just junior people who could really benefit from being around other people. I think Sean makes some good, valid point, but the whole thing about giving people flexibility, they're going to take advantage of that. They are, and like the whole thing with like the kids. I know someone who works from home and his wife works out of the home, and the guy, he's watching his kids while he's working. Okay, I'm sorry, he's watching his kids while he's working, and it's just not good. But if you're a senior person who, Sean is at this conference and that conference, and like, if you're a C-level executive, any C-level executive at a real company, they're not sitting in their office all the time, but they're out, they're traveling, etc. I've always been in a position where I've never been like in one spot, but for junior people, for individual contributors, it's just, 4 days a week, I think is a good happy medium.
Yeah. Well, one thing to like note here is that the type of work you're doing matters. I actually kind of go the other way, Jason, in that the way it plays out in our office is that the more senior you are, the more likely you are to be in all 5 days. That like individual contributors, a lot of their job is like, hey, I need you to sit down on your computer and crank. And that in-office doesn't help with that at all. In fact, for us, because we have a pretty social company, in-office can be distracting, right? There's people around, there's things to do, there's other people to talk to, there's ways to procrastinate. And so one of my views is that we really ask people to do different types of work throughout their week. And some of it is literally like, hey, I need you to go process those 50 uploads, right? I need you to go in there and set up this new listing. And that is I kind of put the headphones in and just focus. And if you have the discipline that you can do that at home, that actually makes more sense in a lot of situations. But I think your point is that you have to contextualize this for your team and the culture of your surrounding community or whatever. We don't have a problem with, I think, people taking advantage of work from home. And I have a lot of reasons for thinking that. You can look at Slack analytics, for example. And you can see how much are people sending messages different days of the week. And for us, it's you get a little bit less on Monday and Friday, but what actually happens is it goes from group chats to DMs. You see the shift in what types of work people are doing. They go from a big collaborative work to I'm working on a thing. Hey, I need Jason's input on this one thing. So I'm one-to-one communicating with him. But one of my favorite stories, have we told the mouse clicker story on the show? The mouse clicker story is the ultimate of a CEO busting this. Anybody who didn't hear it, basically you can buy mouse clickers that whenever you have tracking software on your laptop to make sure that you're working, these are supposed to kind of fool it. And one of the CEOs in Silicon Valley went out there, bought every single one that he could find, and he found out they were all coming from the same place and using similar software. He mapped out the 3 or 4 different algorithms and then just fired 40% of his team because all they were doing was using mouse clickers. And I think if you've got a team where you can't feel confident, you can't trust them to be working at the level, then it's you probably do have to be in person.
All right, operators, quick break. This episode is brought to you by Northbeam, the marketing attribution platform that we use every day. Now, we all know there's a ton of attribution solutions out there, but I want to talk about what makes Northbeam different and why everyone across the operators trusts their data. The Northbeam difference, it just doesn't give just last click credit. It spreads credit across the entire customer journey. So top of funnel campaigns finally get the recognition they deserve. This is huge, especially for me, trying to grow our brand. Top of funnel is just really important, but knowing how much to spend there and giving it credit is just huge for us. So there's a ton of attribution models and accounting modes giving you maximum flexibility to track across huge look back windows or conversion lags for all you operators with long consideration periods. That's another big one for us. Years ago, if people would have looked at our Facebook ad account and told us to stop running ads, without having the right look back and attribution windows, you're just not making good decisions. Northbeam tracks both clicks and views, and you hear a lot about that now, view through being really important. So you can finally prove TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat campaigns are driving revenue. So check out their clicks and deterministic views model, which is one of their newer models, which we found really, really useful. This model separates new and returning customer acquisition clearly, so you know which ads are driving incremental growth. Northbeam Apex is crazy. This is an integration with ad platforms like Meta and Apple often that allows those ad algorithms to actually drive your ad delivery based on first-party performance data. Nobody else has this. The immediate efficiency returns at the push of the button here are pretty amazing. And then, it never inflates revenue, just the real numbers that actually line up with Shopify. So it's a true source of truth. That's a Northbeam difference, just the real numbers that actually line up with Shopify and an analytical rigor in the platform that I personally trust and have trusted since 2020. Look, I don't like paying for SaaS. The people on the pod don't like paying for SaaS solutions, especially Sean loves to talk about it, unless they make us money. And clearly Northbeam has paid for itself over and over, and we'd be flying blind without it. So, everyone uses Northbeam. Every big brand I know, every good brand I know uses Northbeam. Manscaped, Dollar Shave Club, AG1, Ridge, everyone in my chats. I trust Northbeam. They're one of the foundational platforms that we use here at HexCloud. And so if you're ready to cut through the noise, stop guessing, and actually see which ads are driving your business, book a demo at northbeam.io/demo and tell them the operators sent you. Join the club.
I definitely understand how coming out of COVID, like hybrid ends up being like a natural transition point.
Yeah.
But I assume your guys' meetings are so annoying because if you have people in the room and then you have to call someone in every meeting, that's my worst nightmare. I hate that.
Those are the worst. The worst. Totally agree with that.
And it seems like you guys are, everybody in this call but me is living that.
Yeah.
So look, I think there's two states to the future, okay? And the most recent YC batch and like all of these new SaaS companies, they're working in office 6 days a week. There's nobody remote, right? They're there the entire time as long as possible. Like they're posting, Twitter videos where they're like doing chin-ups at 10 p.m., right? Now, that culture is not for everybody, but like that is a culture out there that those people are grinding really, really hard in person. And then the other side is you're locked into 8 computer screens, you got your VR headset on, and you're doing work whenever you want, all using AI incredibly built into this remote future. And looking at those two options, look, I don't want to be around people that often, so that's why I'm going remote. But like, I just don't see how there's an in between. Like I just don't think the productivity gains are there because I can hire people everywhere. They have as much flexibility as they want. I'm getting Slacks at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. right, and it's the way I like to work. I'm doing work all the time anyway, and then that in between just feels horrible. It's like, okay, I'm going to see people kind of in person, but then I have remote team members and I got to like loop them back in. It just feels like I'm doing double work.
What I'm also hearing from everybody is like some of this is also personal style of your founders or your executive team. Like I think Jason, Mike, and I we might just be a little old school in that. And I guess like Mike, you're raising a great question. I don't know if I don't trust my team. I think I trust my team. What I don't understand is that like you're in your mid 20s. I am in this office 5 days a week. Why aren't you here? Like you walk 10 minutes to work. Like what is wrong with you? Like career wise, like why would you not want to spend time with the guy who owns the joint and can probably teach you more if you're just sitting around? Like literally sit 10 feet from me.
But has anybody ever unpacked that for them? Like when I was 22.
I don't know. I kind of want to. My HR team is like, I don't know if that's a good idea. I just want to say that. Like, dude, bro, like, what's wrong with you?
I think it's like if you're running a culture where like advancement is somewhat contingent on you seeing their work and you knowing them, then like, yeah, you should absolutely tell them that.
I don't even think it's that, Mike. It's not even about culture and advancement here. I just think like you're 25. This is maybe your second job. Wouldn't you want to learn like the most? Like, I guess like you work to make money. So there's I sort of grew up in an age where like I wanted to be the best of whatever I was doing. Like I wanted to excel at something. And to me, that was always like, well, who's the smartest person in the room? I want to go hang out with that person, or who has the most authority. Like, I just want to learn the max I can while I'm at this place, even though I know I'm probably not going to be here forever. Like, that's also true. So like, what I don't get is it seems like this is, and to me, I hate to do this, but like right now, it's very much obvious it's a generation thing, at least in my company and in my experience. Like the younger you are, the less you care about being around the important people. I don't know how else to say that, guys. Like you're going to learn and it's better for you long term.
Yeah. So I think it's like even younger people who are, 18 to 21.
Yeah.
They're actually 100% all in. You know what I mean? Because like they had to do middle school on computers. They're like, this stuff sucks. I'm trying to do 7 days a week in person, just like, going all in at it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a blip in time.
I think that a couple of thoughts. I mean, one, Sean, your point about talent, I can't really refute that. Like the idea of if your talent pool is everybody, you're always going to be able to get, better quote unquote talent.
100%. Yeah.
That's it's not really an arguable point, but it's interesting. I've been listening through the acquired catalog, and one of the hosts, he worked at Microsoft during a period where Microsoft really sucked as a company. Like they were not, like they were stagnant as a stock price. And the episode I was just listening to, they had Ben Thompson, who runs Stratechery, which is an unbelievable blog. He really like pioneered the idea of like a subscription blog. And I find out Ben Thompson worked at Microsoft during that exact same period. And what Ben Thompson was saying is that basically when you get these big organizations, like culture ends up mattering a ton. And I thought it was a really good point because basically you've got two guys here who are incredibly successful. And I was just thinking like the talent density at Microsoft in like the late 2000s had to be amazing. Like they could have kind of their pick of almost anybody. They could pay for almost anybody. And they really struggled as a company. And to hear those guys tell it, a big part of the problem was culture. And so I guess the point that I would make, we've all seen this in sports also, like talent is a piece of outperformance, but then culture is the other piece. And that's where you can't get too one-dimensional on this. Like, yes, you have better access to raw talent if you open it up to everybody, but you also make concessions on culture because your really talented person in Argentina thinks very differently than the really talented person in Luxembourg. And they might both be, top 0.001%, but the way they see the world and the way they think about culture and the idea of having a cohesive culture gets harder and harder. And so as much as you hear this talk about like the access to the best talent, who is the company that we would say this is the gold standard where they've really taken people fully distributed all across the world and really made it work and turned it into a huge home run success?
That's a great point, Mike. Sean,
I don't know who the avatar is.
I'd love to hear, Sean, your perspective on the whole like remote culture. Like how would you describe yours?
Yeah, well, just like you guys can't refute the point about talent, I can't argue culture because it's a nebulous thing. It's like I don't know what we're going to be arguing, but I guess the avatar of remote is every large corporation has like 1 million satellite offices, right? Like Amazon literally has an office in every single city, and they get a lot of stuff done, right? And it's like how is not hub and spoke, million little nodes, the same as remote? Like, because I guess the culture in the Atlanta office will be different than the culture in the New York office or whatever else. But that company continues to function, right? So, and they function.
I mean, it's really hybrid. It's not remote. And that's kind of my argument is that everything is somewhere in the scale of hybrid. Like even with Amazon, it's like they're going to call everybody into Seattle for meetings and for things from time to time. And then even if you're in the New York or Atlanta or whatever office. So I think you're right, Sean. I'm just arguing like everybody is some form of hybrid. And even you guys are some form of hybrid. You just do it as an annual retreat. It's just kind of understanding where on that hybrid spectrum. Like you cannot get to where you never see these people in person. You can't do it. Right. You just can't do it.
Yeah, and I see my leadership team, pretty often, right? Like I was just in the office on Monday, right? But yeah, look, we'll save this for a different debate. Matt had a real agenda.
Dude, I actually really like this because this is sort of this leads to the whole conversation about brand, right? Because like Mike, there's like a whole. You probably know this better than I do because you seem to just retain books and whatever. But there's this whole thing that like if you take care of your people, that people take care of the brand, right? And I do think that your culture, like how you think about your company and how people think about it, actually impacts what the brand is. So this is actually a great conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the best companies, the brand is an extension of the culture. Right. So like one of the famous stories about Philip Morris, they were going through like the government lawsuits and all the stuff. And they would just show up for board meetings to strategize. And they would just throw like 100 packs of cigarettes on the table and everybody would light up. And it was just like defiantly like, now, is that the culture you want to have? Maybe not. But it was like a great example of like Philip Morris was like, smoking is awesome. We love smoking and we are going to fight for the right to smoke. And like so I think the most effective companies, what makes them so effective is that they have a really clear lens of here's how we view the world. Here's what we think is good. Here's what we think is right. Here's how we think people should live. And it's expressed internally, and the external brand is just a manifestation of the same thing. I mean, Patagonia is one that people love to use, is that like these people are crazy about hiking and fishing and being and climbing, and they are fanatical about protecting the planet. That's both part of their internal culture and it's part of the brand they project, which is also what makes them really popular. And so like, you have to like, I think you're right, Sean, like, but it's kind of a cop out to say culture is hard to define. It's nebulous. And so like, I'm not going to try to. I think the fact that it's hard to define is what makes it such an alpha generating thing. It's if you can have a sense of how to build good culture, then to your point, Matt, you get a lot quicker from A to B in terms of building a strong brand. And that's what really great companies do.
Yeah. So here's my whole debate on this. Undoubtedly, if you have 4 people locked in a room together, you can get them on the same page quicker, more often, and if all information they hear is shared, right? But that falls apart. Disney. Like I was when we debated this with Steven from Cuts, I'm like, yeah, Bob Iger doesn't walk past every desk every day making sure people are working, right? They have to build a culture or management chain where like the top down ideas and what's most important gets done. And like a film is done by 100 different teams in 100 different locations, right? There's like voice acting is different than editing, different than lighting, and it all comes together to make something. So it's like, all I'm talking about is like distributed work can work at scale and making sure what's the most important. I mean, I think it's easier to resonate that out across a remote environment. Because I
think if you have strong culture, that makes remote might actually be easier, I guess is the point I'm making. Because in your movie example, if I've got a bunch of different distributed teams working on this, it's even more important that they have shared values about what they think that movie can become, right? That they have a shared bar of excellence. Because otherwise, it becomes contingent upon the individual managerial abilities of every single group. So you know what? The sound in this movie really freaking sucks because their manager was not very good or didn't really care, but the visuals were awesome. Instead, culture is kind of this idea of like, hey, everybody is passionate about making the best possible, most creative film that intrinsically motivates them. Do I have to manage that? Yes. Can remote or in-person work? Yes. But it's a lot easier to make that film if everybody working on that film shares this vision for great art and is passionate about making great art.
Yeah, so I guess my whole debate is that a film takes 100 people or 100 different teams working in 100 different locations. Your company has 100 people working in different locations. What's the difference? It's like if you're by yourself in your room or you're in a satellite office with 4 people, it's like, what's the difference? You still have to build meeting structures and chains so you can pass information across. Right?
Well, I think there's like, just to give you an example, I think you're right. Like if I'm animating a film, and I'm just doing it in a vacuum, then like maybe me being remote, like it doesn't matter. But as an example of the other side, have you guys ever seen like for a show like The Office, how the writers' rooms, they basically get all these people in a room and they riff off of each other. They're like, what if, for this episode, Michael goes on vacation with Jan and they get it on. That'd be pretty funny. Let's riff on that idea. And somebody says, well, what about this? Somebody says, well, what if Michael took a picture of her and he accidentally sent it to the company, whatever. And they kind of build on each other. And I think that that's a lot of times how great ideas work is it's like one person doesn't have the entirety of a great idea, but they have kind of a kernel of an idea and they can bounce off other people. That's the part that's really difficult to recreate remotely. And so the reason why it's easy to talk past each other on these types of conversations is I think you're totally right, Sean. I think there are some activities where I am way better remote. I'm way better just by myself in a room, separate from other people. And then there's other aspects of leading the company or creativity that I can't unlock by myself. Like even on this podcast as an example, there's times where I've sat down and been like, I'm going to write something. I'm like, I don't know what I want to write. I don't have anything. But then 3 hours later, I get on a podcast with you and you say something and it triggers me thinking a thought and like all of a sudden I've got something, or I'm in an executive meeting and somebody says something that triggers a thought or a way of approaching a problem that I wouldn't have got to. And I just think that part's a lot easier, at least for me, when I'm around people in real life. But there's no argument that it's like super effective, which is again why my argument is like hybrid is the answer, that it's elements of both.
Operators, Black Friday, Cyber Monday's coming up. Is your SMS list ready? If not, get on Postscript. They are helping us drive 14% more email signups through their better opt-ins. They're helping us get 6% more SMS subs every single day because they have perfected the art of pop-ups. You need to build your list. You have to nurture your list. You have to take care of your list. Postscript is the best at that. They're the number one name in SMS. It's their number one revenue driver. We are excited and ready to take advantage of all of the lists we've built all year, okay? PostScript has the best opt-in of all time. It is single sign-in, password autofill right on your phone, and we're going to get probably another 100,000 people to sign up between now and the end of the year. We're going to use those people. We're going to use SMS to nurture them through the funnel. It's an amazing tool. I love it. Make sure you're ready for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. PostScript is here to help guide you through everything that you need when it comes to SMS. More opt-ins, more list building. Make sure you don't look like an amateur this BFCM. Use PostScript. Tell them Sean sent you. Tell them the operator sent you. PostScript will audit your SMS program for free and show you how to scale fast before Black Friday, Cyber Monday hits. When we talk about list growth, that's what you have to use before, during, and after Black Friday. You want serious gains. You want PostScript. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Thank you for being here.
I want to bring it back to the brand thing because I think what you guys are all saying actually ties in nicely with really why I wanted to talk brand was Zach Stuck put a post on X about starting a Facebook group. And Jason, I want you to start here because I'm really curious how you think about this. Because I think I know what you're going to say, but I want to hear what you say. So here's the crux of it. He said, I wanted to start a Facebook group for Hollow. Okay. And the team has hesitation because our customers come from very different walks of life. We're mostly worried about controversy. Example, crunchy granola vegan hikers posting photos on trail versus blue collar hunters posting photos of the latest trophy, which to me prompted the question of like, if you can't put all of your customers or like in this case, like all of your employees in the same place and not have them fight, do you have a brand?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty funny. That bit of it is pretty funny, but like the bigger picture about building first of all, like it starts with what is your business and what are you selling? Like I think a brand is about projecting some kind of lifestyle too, in my opinion. So
yeah,
I think that like a sock company versus Ridge versus Simple Mod. Look, anyone can build a brand if they have a good product and they work hard at building a brand. I don't think a Facebook group is like the defining factor of it.
The idea that like you've acquired all these customers, but my gosh, if I put them in the same place, they're going to murder each other.
Do they have a reason? But do they have a reason to talk about the brand, right? Because that's what a brand is something that people are interested in and want to talk about. Like the organic, everyone wants a brand is building like an organic flywheel to sell your product, right? So it takes it to the next level beyond just paid advertising. And to some extent, if you have a good product, you should work on building your brand properly, whether it's just by having the right look and feel and having your communications be brand native, being harmonized, all that. Not every business, look, a sock company, look at True Classic Tees. If I were Zach Stuck, True Classic Tees would be my model because they took essentially a commodity product and they created a great business out of it. And arguably, they've created a brand. I haven't thought about it enough, but like arguably they've created a brand around just like something super basic and not terribly differentiated. So I think it starts with the product. We had a Facebook group early on, but that's because like cooking is one of those things that is like super easy to talk about that people want to share about. And so, but I could see a world in which, the appeal of his sock brand to these certain different types of people, they have things they want to talk about. And I think I would not be worried. You moderate the Facebook. I wouldn't be worried about that. But overall, I think any brand should have a Facebook group because why not?
Well, I get that. Sean, what do you think? Like around you and I chatted about a previous episode with the customer avatar, like who are you acquiring? Right. And you guys at Ridge were pretty disciplined on this.
Yeah. What I was going to say is you can't get 50 people together in any room and not have people fight about. So it's like, I'm like, the reality is like, we're like, it's a fractured state where everyone's mad about something all the time. And the controversy is good, right? Facebook likes people arguing in controversy. I mean, join Facebook groups and like, people are like, you're an idiot. Like it's just people fighting back and forth. Right. Now, I think most great brands have, a division in their fan base, right? Like you can look at Apple is ubiquitous. So it's like, yeah, grab any 5 people who have an iPhone and they'll have nothing in common with each other, right? But then there's the Apple fanboy who is Apple everything, right? And that is a very certain type of person. We all know who I'm talking about. They live in San Francisco. They're a super nerd. Same thing with Tesla. There's people who just wanted the best car, and then there's people who wanted, who want to save the environment or whatever else. So I think like the division among super avatars is just super common. Zach shouldn't care. He shouldn't think about it. Like the bigger your brand gets, you're going to attract people who don't like each other. And it's just, dude, it's just a part of life, man. He should just continue to make great products. I think the true test to a brand is, can you sell something else? That's the whole thing. Oh, damn. Matt has people bringing him coffee.
What a flex. Dude. Matt's getting Starbucks just delivered to him mid-podcast. Let's talk about that. Let's forget this brand stuff.
I mean, come on. Dude, there's some people. Katie's going to bust my balls the minute she sees this, if she watches this
Matt's
episode.
like, this is why we got to be in person. Somebody's got to hand me my Starbucks when I'm on camera.
Is that eco-friendly, Matt? Are you going to recycle those?
This is all paper, boys. This thing is compostable. I'm on brand right now.
Okay. No, but the only test to brand is, can you sell somebody something else, right? Or else brand's meaningless, right? Do you have permission to product expansion? If not, you're just selling socks, and there's nothing wrong selling socks. But when he launches a Patagonia style vest, that's brand, and people buy that thing.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is like, the way I look at great brands is they all do have some kind of like story that's very cohesive. Like Jason, and Mike, I really do want to get your take on this too, but like Jason, I heard somebody introduce your brand to another person last week, which also made me want, so I had like 4 or 5 different things happen in my life, guys. I'm like, we need to talk about brand. So I saw a buddy of mine, we were out with some friends, and I saw him introduce Hexclad to another guy. Guy was asking about cookware, right? And moaning about the stuff he has, asking about cookware. He says, oh, I've got, Matt got me on a Hexclad. And the guy's like, what's that? And he's like, that's Gordon Ramsay's cookware. Super simple. The guy right away got it. And I'm like, oh, that's a brand. Right? Now, obviously, Gordon Ramsay's super recognizable. But that idea that like, you can summarize and you can just say like, Hexclad is blah. And it was so fast, just made me think that's a brand. Now, and I get like great product, but that's the story matters more. There's a lot of great products that die on the vine because the story sucks and there's no brand, there's no thought. And I think that we do live in a time where like acquiring customers, because Meta's made it so easy, we can do that. And you can spin a product and a brand, you can spin a product a lot of ways to a lot of different people. But it actually got me thinking like early on, maybe you should actually focus on acquiring one kind of person. Going back to Jason's flywheel comment, Mike, like, acquiring one kind of person actually does create word of mouth. If you acquired a vegan and a meat eater, they're not referring each other.
Well, not if you're trying to acquire them on the dimension of what they eat. I think
totally. Like
you have to have some kind of demo where it's like, this is the shared value. This is the shared characteristic. And one of the reasons why I think, one of the ways we could just talk about brand is why brand is important is, when you pay to acquire customers, they're almost never profitable. When you actually pay to acquire a customer, they're almost never profitable. This is what I've come to believe based on a lot of experience.
Spicy.
Where you make all the juice is organic purchases. Like that's what falls to the bottom line. And so if you launch a business where it's like, we are literally paying to acquire 100% of people, like it is exceptionally difficult to make money. I bet if we could peel apart Jason or Sean's business and we could just say, okay, I want to watch the customer journey for every single person that buys. There'd be a whole bunch of people where it's like, okay, they saw this paid influencer or they clicked on this ad on Meta or, whatever else, and then they bought. And if you summed all that up and you took it across their marketing budget, you'd be like, they didn't make any money on any of those people. And then you'd be like, but there's 15 or 20% of people that had a conversation like the one that you heard, Matt. That somebody who already had Hexclad mentioned it to him on an elevator. I mean, it's interesting. Yesterday, I was speaking at something for JP Morgan, and I'm telling them about the podcast. And one of the guys, he's like, yeah, who are the other hosts? And I'm like, well, one of them, they sell Ridge Wallet, and he's like, he pulls out a Ridge Wallet, And so like, there are 10 to 15 to 20% of your customers that are truly walk up, truly organic, that you get through word of mouth of other people. And because of that, you have no customer acquisition cost. They're exceptionally profitable, and all that falls to the bottom line. Here's my point. My point is, number one, if you don't have truly organic people, I don't know how you make money. You certainly don't make industry leading numbers on net income or anything like that. It's just not possible. And number two, you have to be remarkable. You have to be remarkable, because if you're not remarkable, then people will not remark upon you. They will not share your story with other people, and you will not get organics. And so this is something I've actually, with our team for a long time, we were remarkable in that our combination of quality and price was remarkable, and that brought us customers. But that's not really going to be the playbook for us over the next 10 years. We have to be remarkable in some different ways. And, product design has to be part of that. There's a number of, I think we're remarkable in terms of like how we run the company, how we think about using profits, things like that. And that's our job, to tell that story so that then other people can tell that story for us, because that's free marketing. That word of mouth, that remarking is free marketing, which leads to organics, which drives your economic flywheel.
That definitely, like, Sean, that gets me thinking that it isn't just about having a great product, because like the problem in consumer, at least the way I look at it, is product is really hard to build moat around, right? Like, unless you can wrap it in IP, like real IP, that's super difficult to break. Like, we're talking outlier probabilities here that's even true. You need to take product and combine it with some other variables to build a brand, right? Because somebody can rip your product off. Like, we see it all the time. Like, especially in the case of, like, look at me, like, I sell a phone case, guys. Like, or Sean sells a wallet. It's just a wallet. It's just a phone case. But like, it's the combination of either price or story, celebrity, like some other set of things that builds the brand, right? And I guess I've always looked at it like, I come at it from a customer first perspective, is I kind of want to acquire the most amount of the people that look the same and talk the same and share the same values, because I do want that Jason's flywheel thing. And I don't know if you ever saw that, Sean, like that focus on what's your main customers? Is name Ed or Ted, or like who's the?
We have both Ed and Ted, but
Ed and Ted.
Yeah.
But like which one would you say drives the most word of mouth to what Mike is talking about? That flywheel thing that Mike and Jason are kind of hitting on.
Yeah, our brand has always been led by Ed, everyday dad, and we have sayings internally like respect Ed, right? Like, you have to put a lot of reverence into what Ed wants. But going back to like how to, like, what I want to answer is how brand manifests itself, and there's like three things you can look for in a business. It's like, do you command industry leading AOVs, right? Brand should lead to higher AOVs. Because brand leads to higher AOVs, brand should have higher margin. So if you are a brand, you should have better than standard margin. And then the third one is repeat rate. So, we sell luggage. I do 8 figures a year in luggage. Luggage is a very, very difficult business. I wouldn't have got into luggage understanding what I know now.
It's really insane you've made luggage work, honestly. I've never said this, but like, it's about as hard a category as you could have hopped into.
Yeah, look, and I'm fucking stupid because I tell the team we're going to make all this shit, and then they make it, and then we got to launch it, and then we end up selling it. The reason why luggage is so hard is the gross margin of Samsonite, which is the largest publicly traded luggage company, is in the high 20s.
Yeah.
Okay. So like they have product margin, which is like in the 60s. And then below that, they have what they call fulfillment margin. They spend 30% of all revenue just shipping this luggage around places. Right. And that's the big challenge, is like, they're really a logistics company. You're shipping empty boxes across the entire world. So that's why that business sucks, right? Samsonite's the best to ever do it, and their gross margin is maybe 30%. Now they own Tumi, and Tumi has a gross margin probably in the 40%, right? Luxury price points, luxury luggage margin. So we're out there trying to sell more. We launched our luggage. We're like, yeah, we need 75 points of margin, right? And then I realized just how fucking hard that was going to be as a business. And we've had to re-engineer all of that. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is brand should unlock higher AOVs. You should be able to come out to market and not be the cheapest thing out there.
You're kind of saying, in some ways, the other side of what I was saying, Sean. If I'm saying that brand helps you to acquire people you didn't pay for, but other people told your story to, you're saying brand allows you to take people that you have acquired as customers and to sell them additional things without a lot of incremental marketing cost. And I think that that's really powerful as well.
But it's also pricing power. But what he's talking about is there's a level of pricing power when you are a brand. People will pay more for your brand
because they want your thing.
There's a brand premium out there. The other thing that the brand gets you is not just the higher AOV, but a better LTV. And like Sean said, if you have a brand, that means you can sell the next product. We've actually just done this. We've actually looked at LTV cohorts over time from like 21, 22, 23. And first someone sent me the 1 year LTV cohort. I'm like, that's dumb. Get me more time. I need more time, right? So I got 24-month LTV cohorts. And it's fascinating. Like our LTV of each year's cohort over the next 24 months, it keeps getting higher. And it's not because we raise prices. It's because of our brand flywheel, our ability to sell more products, to add more LTV. So that's the power of the brand. And then, Matt wanted to talk about, I think, how we build the brand, right? So I think we could all agree that the brand is powerful, right?
In the last 90 days, my brands, Pila and Lomi, have doubled our support capacity without adding a single new hire. And that is because we moved to Rich Panel. Our CSATs are at an all-time high. I think we're in the 90s now. 50% of our tickets are fully automated, which means the team can basically handle 2 times the volume without burning out or adding more people. And with their Trustpilot integration, both brands went from a 2-star to a 4-star plus, actually, I think 4.5 in like 90 days. And the migration was probably the easiest part. I was surprised. Rich Panel handled everything: data migration, automation, setup, training. We were live in just 14 days. That's insane. And they guarantee you'll cut at least 30% of your tickets in the first 60 days, or you get your money back. Not bad. So if you want to be ready for Black Friday without scrambling to add extra agents, because, I'm recording this and Black Friday's around the corner, you should just head to richpanel.com/demo. Tell them Matt from Operators or Sean or anybody. We all use this thing. That's why we're promoting it. Tell them that we sent you, and they will take very good care of you. That's it. Let's get back to the show.
I do want to make one point before we move on. Like, not everybody translates brand power into higher AOVs. A great example of this is Nike. Like, if you look at what Nike sells its shoes for compared to the number 2, number 3 player, like, they don't actually take the brand premium in the sales price. Sometimes they just will move a lot more units. They'll use it on the customer acquisition side. But the point being that having the power where people would be willing to pay more for your thing, you can translate that into more customers. There's a lot of different ways you can use that tool. And so the point I just want to make is that it's not always charge more, but that it definitely is. The more people are like, I want the swoosh on my thing, the more power that gives you when it comes to thinking about how you structure your business and customer acquisition, margins, everything else.
Yeah. While you guys were talking, I downloaded, the past 5 years of my business from Shopify, new customer versus returning customer.
Is this like the Matrix? Sean just like plugged in and just was like, yeah, I'm downloading all this directly to my brain at 30 seconds.
Well, dude, and then I uploaded to ChatGPT and I started asking questions because I truly believe, look, there's a lot of people on social and they have great accounts and they talk about like this like brand as being beautiful, right? Like, and when you think about brand, you think about like Soho and like cool people and cool clothes. But like when I talk about brand, it's just any sort of affinity that drives repeat rate.
Agreed. I don't think it has anything to do with like the beauty of something. Or no.
Yeah, and like when people hear brand marketing or whatever, like they think about like we're gonna have the hottest people on earth at Coachella, in a club, whatever, right? And it's just like that is a form of brand marketing, but also it's just like anything that builds affinity to drive repeat rate. And I think like Ridge has put on a masterclass in that, where it's like every single year. It used to be $0 came from returning customers, and now it's 8 figures. I've done over $100 million in returning customer revenue. And to Mike's point, it's like, yeah, I bet if you look at my net income and my returning customer revenue number, they are probably 1-to-1. Now, I think I acquire customers profitably, and I think there's probably some unprofitable returning customer revenue, but like that is the benefit of having brand, is being able to drive repeat rate. So to Mike's point, like you don't have to take advantage of it on pricing power. There's probably some other great brands that don't take advantage of it on pricing power. Probably anything in the grocery store.
Like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, yeah, anything consumable, they're not going to use it on the pricing power side, most likely. They're going to use it to just try and drive more throughput and more customer acquisition.
It's funny. I don't know, Jason, if sometimes you think this, but like when I hear Jason be like, yeah, look, we're a pretty big company now, I also think, but you're not. Like in the grand scale of things, right? Like none of us are. When you compare to a Coke or even like in physical, like durables, we're really not. But like at our size, or if you go down to like 10 million, 50 million, whatever size you would like, I'm hearing, like, Sean, when you talk, all I'm hearing is you have customer concentration. Like you definitely have concentration in a bunch of these like groups of people. And that's what's driving the repeat rate. That's what's driving the referrals, there is focus. You're not like, you didn't go out, start Ridge and say, all right, we're going to acquire Ed and we're going to acquire Ed's wife all at the same time, or Ed's cousin, Julie. Like you didn't do that.
It just seems counterintuitive, but it's true that you're like, well, I want to sell as much as possible, so I have to appeal to as many people as possible. And it's exactly the opposite. The way you sell as much as possible is by really narrowing in and saying, I'm going to really speak to this small subset of people. And this is why brand building is in many ways as much about saying what you're not as what you are. Like it is about defining the things you aren't. But if you look at really successful brands, a lot of times what they're doing is they're counter positioning against other ways of viewing the world, right? It's not just we believe. A lot of times they're like, we're not that. We're the anti-Microsoft, like the I'm an iPhone, I'm a Mac commercials are a great example of this, right? It's like all our brand building is like basically just saying we're not that, we're not what Microsoft is. And so it's both. And that it feels hard to kind of say, I'm just going to like be okay with not, like for Ridge, like you said, Sean, I very clearly get the message that this is for Ed, and so it feels hard. It feels hard to say like, well, we're just going to forego all these different swaths of the market. We're generally not going to talk to women as much. We're going to do this, we're going to do this. But you guys have actually done a really good job of showing how when you get very focused on a segment, then there is the potential to expand that outward, because like now you do sell stuff to women, but you did it by first focusing just exclusively on Ed, or at least this is my perception from the outside.
Mike, you still, like when I go to Ridge, I know I can like go to their social and go to their site and I can tell you who it's for, right? Same with like Hexclad. I like when I go and look at Hexclad's site and I like browse the brand and I go on social and I look at the content that's being made around Hexclad, like, oh, I know who that's for. Like it's very clear. And I think, Mike, you said something and I'd be curious to get everybody's take on this, but like it really depends on the dimension in which you're marketing and acquiring customers through. Like there are products that can acquire customers on like any kind of walk of life because they're acquiring on a dimension of like, this product does this thing, this feature or functionality, does benefit to you really well. And then I think there are brands who acquire and build brands around a set of values, like identity, right? Or Jason, you said lifestyle. And Ridge is like your lifestyle, man. Like even if like you look at your sweeps right now, the cars you give away tell me who your customer is. Like you're not giving away a Prius, dude.
It's amazing. It's got like two supercars in the desert, and it's like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I just the only advice I have for new brands coming up is until you have customer pull, have a vague idea, but be fluid about who it's for.
That's great advice.
I've seen so many brands die, and I worked in an agency before Ridge. People would raise money and they'd come in, and I've told the story a dozen times, but they're like, my customer makes $200,000 a year, shops at Lululemon, and lives in Silver Lake. And I'm like, great. So there's 50 people who are your customer. Awesome. They're like, well, that's my avatar. We're going to go find everybody like that. I'm like, yeah, you're not serving a big enough market, right? Like, and if you can ruin your brand by being hyper fixated on who you think the brand's for, you have to let your customers tell you. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of people who've come and go at Ridge come in and they're like, no, we actually want to go after an even cooler guy. We want to go after people who are in New York, who are tastemakers, who like are in jogging clubs. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome, but they don't like us. So I want to dance with who wants to dance with me, and Ed likes us, so we're going to sell products to Ed, right? And that's how we've built out this cohort. When we we launched Ridge, we didn't know who it was for. We were just like, we're going to sell wallets. It was a natural journey. So
I do think that's actually a really good point, Sean, that we should make, because it's easy when we talk, we're at the 9-figure level, and it's easy to kind of create this kind of founder myth, alternative history where it's like, well, day one, we were like, we got to pick our target market and we knew it was going to be this. And it's like, that's not how it works at all. It's very iterative for us. All we saw was like, there was room to do a lot of different colors in water bottles. This is a point where Yeti was just doing stainless steel. And as we leaned into it, we realized, oh, wait a second, we're really skewing female. We're skewing female 25 to 45. And so we kind of leaned in a little bit to that. And the more we leaned into it, the more it was like, that was our demo. And then to your point, it was like, well, what else do females 25 to 45 buy? Was like, well, they have kids and they buy kids stuff. And then we started leaning into kids things. And now we've got this really defined brand persona. But it was an iterative process, and certainly three dudes starting a company. When we started it, I would have actually kind of laughed if you told me your target customer is going to be a female that's 25 to 45, because there's no reason the three of us would have naturally gotten there. But sure enough, that's where we are, and we've gotten really good at taking care of that particular customer.
Jason, on this topic of Sean, this idea of fluidity, it's have an idea about who your customer might be, but be fluid with that. Sean, I think that's brilliant advice. When you look at early days Hexclad, and they were building the product, did they have were they really set on who the customer was going to be for this, the brand story, or did that kind of just wind up happening because of how the product looks? And,
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
The look and feel of the product enabled us, let's say motivated us to come with a certain viewpoint on how we wanted to present the brand on top of the product. It started with how the product looked. I mean, when the product was developed, it was like, wow, this looks pretty freaking cool, right? And so we want to leverage that and make it the techie cool cookware brand. And as we've grown the company, we're like, okay, how do we get to different personas? How do we get to different customer types? It's not something that it's very rare that you start with thinking about, oh, how I want this brand to be, and then building around it. It's you need a trigger, and for us the trigger was the product. I would imagine it's the same with the Ridge wallet, right? It just would totally make sense to go after certain people. The same thing with the water bottle, with Simple Modern Hydration. It's we know the consumer of these things, and then how do we take the look and feel of our product and marry that up to who's going to use it, and then slowly. It wasn't until we always had this thought in our head. It started with Danny, right? That we were going to be the bad cookware brand. He had this vision of Johnny Cash come out of Folsom Prison, giving the finger. That was always Danny's idea. But at the end of the day, that didn't match up with who's buying cookware necessarily, right? So, but we kind of stuck to that vision in our branding in 2022. That's when we really changed the brand to make it look and feel like it is today. That whole exercise happened starting in Q1 of 2022 when we hired Big Day, the agency, to help us implement that vision across all of our different customer touch points, et cetera. And it culminated in the new website in September 22 and the packaging later that year, to make everything look and feel like we wanted to feel it. But that took some time. I started in May of 2020, and it wasn't until January of 2022 that we kind of got it sort of right.
When you hear founder stories of really big consumer brands, I don't know if you guys have ever listened to Chip Wilson talk. There's definitely this beginning of they always had a strong vision of this is the brand we're building. This is who it is for. I do wonder how much truth is in that. Listening to Sean's advice around being a little fluid at the beginning with who do you think it's for, because you probably have no clue. I think that's more probably true, probabilistically true. But you hear all these founder stories, these large brands, and their version of history is always, no, I knew exactly, we knew who we were trying to be. We knew the brand positioning. we have this strong vision. And I think you see it a lot more in apparel and goods. But Sean, I don't know if you're such a student of this stuff. I'm curious if like you've ever thought, oh, that guy's just full of it. There's no way he started out.
They're all full of it because it's all just myths. Because if it didn't work, they'd pivot because that's our job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's total survivorship bias, right?
Totally.
All right, operators, real talk. If your dashboards are a week old, they're not insights, they're history. You probably heard me talk about cleaning up our data. Well, we finally have it dialed, and it's because of Sarah's Pulse. We have a data foundation we can fully trust. Pulse connects us to over 200 sources. We've got to connect it to so many sources: Shopify, Amazon, TikTok, Fulfill, NetSuite. Every dashboard is complete, accurate, and exhaustive. My team is in the dashboards all the time. No gaps, no mismatched numbers, no manually assembling spreadsheets. We must have killed 12 spreadsheets and combined them into one dashboard. And our daily growth dashboards are integral to the growth team, showing the true CAC by channel, by country. Our executive dashboard ties revenue to contribution margin down to the SKU level. And more importantly, like, we get this fast, and these are actuals, not estimates. And in today's environment, every percentage point in margin with tariffs and costs of marketing costs going up, every percentage point matters, right? And for us, it's all automated, so the team can focus on doing what they do best, which is growing the business. And so we're also testing something brand new with Sarah's IQ. It's an AI chat layer that lets us just ask which SKUs drove margin in Amazon, for example, Canada last week, and what promo impacted repeat purchase rate. And it gives the answers quickly, backed by clean data, unified data. And so here's the part you want to hear. A few operators, podcast listeners, can get early access to the beta. Saris will even co-design an IQ proof of concept tied to the top 3 KPIs that you want to move. It's not a canned demo. It's your data, your metrics, your insights. This is huge. Just to see it alive. It's extremely limited. Only a handful of brands will get in as a launch offer. If you want dashboards that you can trust and instantly answer your toughest questions, talk to Saris Analytics. And yes, this is just for our podcast listeners. Saris has just been a great advocate for the pod, great ally of the pod. And there are going to be a lot of AI tools coming out from Microsoft, Shopify, et cetera, but they can only be good as good as your underlying data infrastructure. That's the thing. Like, having your data infrastructure set up properly is everything. That's why we started with Saris, and then they keep building more on top of it. But no matter what, in the AI world, you need to have a data infrastructure that works. And I don't think there's any better place to do it than Saris. So you can also take an assessment and understand your business's AI readiness with Saris at sarisanalytics.com. So get AI ready the right way, get your data in the right place. Go check out Saris Analytics.
The beauty of Hexclad is the counter positioning. The reason why it's the biggest cookware brand is because everyone else went after the same goddamn customer. And you can name them, they raised money, they all make the same cookware for the same person, right? So if you're shopping for cookware, there's 80 options in millennial pink for the same person. And then there's only one person going after a more, gender neutral or even like a slightly masculine tone.
I think it's masculine.
Right?
I mean, like, even the most recent thing that you just posted, Jason, with the F1 partnership, like, I don't know if that's overall F1 or just the driver, but I mean, it's like that. First of all, the spot's awesome. It feels badass. Like, just like the feel of the video is like, this is very cool, and it feels very masculine. It codes it for somebody like me. It codes really well. Like you said, Sean. Like, I think that they've just done a great job of counter positioning. It makes sense that for most people, if you're selling cookware, you're trying to sell to mom, or you're trying to sell to a woman and the head of household or something. And here, like, they've just really made cooking, especially cooking aimed at men, very, very cool.
Well, we're going to do both. It's just like, it is, we're constantly talking about like the more feminine vibe, the female vibe, but we just know that this bit works. And then how do you get to the others? I mean, there are a lot of women who like really, they gravitate to or appreciate like the technological feel of Hexclad and the slick look to it. But yeah, it does skew more masculine, and it's something that we're with, but like, it works.
I actually don't think it matters. Jason, I honestly, like, I watch, and all of my, it's been so funny to watch Hexclad spread amongst my social network.
Yeah,
up here.
thank you, Matt. Good job, buddy.
I've sold so much of your man. Like, dude, Kelowna is going to be a great zip code for you. But it's so funny to watch because it always enters the home from the dude. Like, it's the guy who's like, I want a pan that I can cook eggs in or a steak in. Like, it's always that. He doesn't cook. He's not the cook in the house most times. But then the thing enters the house, and I watched it every single time. It's always whoever the primary cooking person is, they reach for the Hexclad. Like, my wife now reaches for your pans, and we have other stuff. She's got all of her like pretty things that she's owned for years. She's got all the reasons she bought all that stuff. I bought the Hexclad products. And when we go to cook, she pulls yours out. That's like the go-to.
I've brought this up like a dozen times. Women are better consumers. So like if you make things for women, if you make things for men, women will cross the gender line, right? Like there's a dozen brands that start as men's first, and then they end up having bigger women's businesses, right? Ralph Lauren's like the perfect example. Going the other way is incredibly hard. If you're our place, it's very hard to start acquiring male customers first, right? The only brand who's been able to do is Lululemon, and I don't know how they've been able to do it, but like every other brand typically starts male first and then opens up women's, and it's a bigger business. Nike's did the exact same thing. So I think Hexclad has a big future being a gender neutral brand for everybody, but because they have the male DNA to start.
I've never quite thought of it that way.
It's kind of like politics. It's like in politics, in the primaries, you appeal to like the base, and then you kind of moderate and you try and go broader in the general election. And I think the really big brands, that's what you've seen them do. I mean, like they initially had a really hardcore group of people that they focused on. You know, with Nike, it was like runners. It was like really hardcore runners wore Nikes, and then they eventually expanded out to other sports and they expanded out across genders. But I think it would probably, I don't know, it'd be interesting if Nike, if it was around running or if it was around male runners even. My guess is it was probably male
I think
runners.
It was always around athletes. And you read that, the story of Nike, actually, like, it's a great book. If you have, I'm sure, Mike, you've read it.
About Shoe Dog?
Yeah.
Funny note on that.
So good.
In our office, the Wi-Fi password is Cup Dog. And
no kidding.
I would always tell people when I wrote my autobiography, it was going to be Cup Dog instead of Shoe Dog. And the whole company read through that book in 2017, and we just
I think honestly for 2 years that was like my most recommended book for people.
Yeah, it's
not because like I think I recommended it to telling people. I don't think you're going to learn anything. I think it's just really entertaining to listen to this total psycho talk about his life building this brand. Like, it was just a train wreck of a story. But my takeaway, Mike, from that is like, it was always about athletes. Like Nike was always about values. And I don't think they've ever really veered from that. It's like, you look like this and you do these things, so you should buy our product. It was never really like, we technically make the best shoe.
Well, and this really goes back to the culture thing. Nike is an organization about competing. They're about competition more than anything else. And they attracted people internally that were highly competitive, and they in their external branding, it's all about competing, and they built a really great brand around that. But like even in the, kind of to Sean's point, the revisionist history, like famously when Phil Knight first heard Just Do It, he's like, I don't know, I don't love it, but maybe it'll grow on me. Same thing with the swoosh. Like they were like, it wasn't like they saw these things and like, this is it. It was more like, it's okay. Maybe I'll grow to love it. And now we think about them as iconic and these strokes of geniuses, but I don't know that the swoosh is naturally like an amazing work of art. I think Nike made it a work of art, It's like Nike took that thing and they infused, when you see that, you think competing. And they've made it into this symbol that really, the way that we process that symbol when we see it is like, yes, that's the starter gun. That's grinding it out. That's sweating. That's being in the gym until, the extra hour. And it really resonates. And that's why we want to buy their products.
Dude, they also got incredibly lucky, right? Like they couldn't afford, Magic Johnson. So they ended up settling for Michael Jordan.
So something I did not know this, but in their contract with Jordan, not only did they give him like the royalty on all of his shoe sales and like a huge minimum, they said, like, here's how much we think Nike as a brand across everything is going to sell. And you get a percentage of any outperformance across the entire brand. So they more or less like made him like an equity holder in the company. They gave him like I don't even know what that would equate to in terms of like a percentage of the company, but they gave him a huge amount of upside just on Nike selling more things, because Nike understood that selling more basketball shoes and Michael Jordan association with the brand raises our ability to sell jogging shoes and shorts and everything else, which again is kind of your point, Sean. It's brand. When I have a great brand, I'm not able to just sell more basketball shoes. I'm able to sell more women's yoga pants. And because like that brand halo is really big, and it leads to more customers and the existing customers buying more things.
And that to me just comes back to values, guys. Like the brand is, I speak to these people in a way that they're my people. They'll buy anything from me because those are my people.
And I'm just trying to ground us back in reality that they didn't know Michael Jordan was going to be good. Obviously, he was in the NBA. Like he was
I think they had a pretty good clue, dude.
They thought, so the way they structured the contract, they thought he could be special. And the way the contract was structured, he had to achieve one of 3 or 4 things. One was being an all-star, one was being MVP, one was winning the finals. I don't know. He had to achieve like 1 or 2 of these check marks. Now he hit all of them, but they definitely made the bet under the assumption that this is a guy who could become the best player in the league. And if he did, then this would be great for us. And so like, they weren't like ever thinking like, hey, this will be a great deal if Michael Jordan's the 18th best player in the NBA. They knew, yeah.
And I'm just trying to highlight, they got very lucky that not only was he the best player in the league, he's the best player of all time. Like,
greatest athlete of all time.
It's the best influencer deal in the history of business.
Yes.
And so like it's, unless you have like the next best influencer in the history of business up your sleeve, like you probably can't replicate that.
Well, I don't know. Hexclad did okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the Gordon thing's pretty amazing.
Yeah, but in sports, it really is a one of one. Like Tom Brady hasn't been able to get a brand to be successful. And Tom Brady, Wayne Gretzky, these are people who are just as good in their sport. They have not been able to do a brand the same way.
No,
Michael Jordan really was special, like once in a multi-generation thing. But then once you get outside of sports, yeah, dude, we got Gordon, we got MKBHD, like, you know, these are the Michael Jordans of our respective industries.
I don't even know if it's possible to replicate the Jordan thing, because the Jordan thing happened in a period when mass media, you both had mass media, but you also had concentration. It was still the networks in charge of things. It was, you know, and we're so fragmented today that it's really like SGA he plays on the Thunder. He is the MVP. He is the kind of presumptive face of the NBA. But like his impact and Michael Jordan's impact are very, very different. And part of it is the NBA's impact is different than it was during Jordan's period. And part of it's that the media is just way more fragmented. Like all of the legacy media put a lot of their weight behind pushing Michael Jordan as well. And that's just not the world we live in anymore. This is also why Brad Pitt is still being cast in starring roles when he's 61, because he's at the end of the kind of broadcast era. There are some stars that were kind of like the mass media broadcast era. Jennifer Aniston's another example, where their faces really meant something to everybody. And so people kind of want to keep going back to using them. Whereas you're like, who's the most famous actor that emerged on the scene post 2010? And do they have anywhere near the name recognition of Brad Pitt? It's like, I don't think so.
Yeah. And new media will change that a little bit. Like I think we'll have echoes of success, but grounding it back in the brand conversation, so much founding mythos is just bullshit. Right? We all want to sit here and talk about how great Nike is and the swoosh and how they mean something, whatever else. We've just given you 5 examples of how, like, a lot of it was luck. A lot of it, like, because the brand made great products and continued to outmarket, those things ended up being worth something.
Dude, read the book. It's just lucky. He got lucky over and over and over again. It was a show.
Well, and they were fully maxed out. Like they basically borrowed every dollar they possibly could, even more than they should have been able to borrow.
It was just like the whole thing was just a walking time bomb. It's incredible.
You got to stay in the game. You know, you got to be able to stay in the game. And that's what increases your odds of being successful. You know, just keep going.
I want to finish. We're at time, but I think, Sean, I want to piggyback on the advice you gave. And also tell people that in addition to being fluid at the beginning with who your customer is, once you find that customer, it's probably a better idea to acquire more customers close to that first customer profile than it is to go acquire completely different groups of people that have no relationship whatsoever. So I would advise any founder early on, you should be thinking, once you figure out product market fit a little bit, you should put some thought into how that expands out over time. And it shouldn't just be like, well, I can get that funnel to work over there for that 22-year-old girl. And it's also working for this 58-year-old male customer I have. I don't think that's smart. I don't think that's how you build organic word of mouth. I don't think it's how you build repeatability. I think it's lower probability to do it that way, is all I'm saying.
And let's do a part 2 of this episode, because what I would love to break down is, does organic equal brand? Because I like to remove from the ether, and brand to me means 3 very specific things. You have pricing power. Pricing power leads to world-class margins, and there's repeat business. Those 3 things equal whatever brand is, right? And then I would love to have an additional debate if organic equals brand, right? Maybe some products just have better built-in organic, maybe not. And I would love to have that debate with you guys next week on the Operators Podcast. So thank you, Fulfill, Northbeam, Postscript, Ceres Analytics, Rich Panel, 5 great softwares, 5 softwares I use and pay for. Jason uses about 4 of those softwares. Matt's at 3. We love these things. They're fantastic. They pay for this show. We have a partnership with E-commerce Fuel. These guys all promised to me, it's Mike's birthday. He's going to post an E-commerce Fuel today on record, and then you're going to write a newsletter. Write a newsletter reflecting on being 21 for the first time. So,
hey, I'm going to e-commerce. I'm going to ECF live at the end of September. The community is great. It's awesome. Everybody should check it out.
We have E-commerce Fuel. We have newsletters. We have spin-off shows. We have sponsors. We come here every week to talk. I would do this for free, but Jason wouldn't let me. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. I love this podcast. Goodbye.